Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, my friends. Today, we're stepping into the fascinating world of United States coinage to explore one of the most popular and iconic coins in American history, the Kennedy half dollar. For decades, this coin has been a favorite among collectors, not just because of its size and design but because of the story it tells about America's past. Our focus today is on the 1971 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that might seem common at first glance but holds secrets that could surprise even seasoned collectors. By the end of this journey, you'll see just how valuable one of these coins can be, and you'll understand why people across the country are still searching their change jars, old coin rolls, and inherited collections for this hidden gem. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964, just a few months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The country was still mourning, and placing Kennedy's portrait on the half dollar was a way to honor his memory. Americans quickly embraced the coin, and it became a symbol of national pride and remembrance. The coin featured Kennedy's profile on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and the presidential seal on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro. From the very beginning, the Kennedy half dollar was not just money, it was a tribute, a keepsake, and in many ways, a piece of history frozen in metal. For the first couple of years, these half dollars were struck in 90% silver, but by 1965, the silver content was reduced to 40%. Then came the year 1971, a turning point in the Kennedy half dollar series. Starting in this year, the U.S. Mint eliminated silver completely from the circulating half dollars, switching instead to a copper-nickel clad composition. That meant that the 1971 Kennedy half dollar was the very first year of the clad series, making it historically important to collectors. The Mint produced these coins at several facilities: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with the D mint mark, and San Francisco with the S for proof coins. Hundreds of millions of these half dollars rolled out of the presses in 1971, and they quickly found their way into circulation. Because of the massive production numbers, many people assume that 1971 Kennedy half dollars aren't worth more than 50 cents. And for the majority of them, that's true. You'll find worn examples everywhere, tossed into drawers, jars, and cash registers. But as with many coins, the real treasure lies in the details: the mint mark, the condition, and the rare mistakes made during production. Condition plays a huge role in a coin's value. Most 1971 half dollars saw heavy circulation, so they're scratched, worn, and dull. But a coin that has survived in pristine condition, with full luster and no noticeable marks, is another story entirely. Collectors prize coins graded at mint state 65 and higher, and when a 1971 Kennedy half dollar reaches the level of mint state 67 or even 68, it becomes an extraordinary rarity. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC certify these high-grade coins, and once certified, they command serious premiums on the market. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of the 1971 Kennedy half dollar lies in the error coins and rare varieties. During the minting process, mistakes happen, and those mistakes can create coins that are far more valuable than their ordinary counterparts. Some 1971 half dollars have been discovered with doubled dies, where the design elements like the inscriptions or Kennedy's profile appear doubled. Others show off-center strikes, broad strikes, or missing details. Then there are the legendary wrong planchet errors, coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong type of blank. For instance, a small number of 1971 Kennedy half dollars were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets intended for earlier issues. These rare silver-clad 1971 half dollars are among the most sought-after coins in the entire series, as they bridge the gap between the old silver issues and the new clad coinage. Proof coins from San Francisco add yet another layer of intrigue. Proofs are specially made for collectors, with mirror-like fields and frosted details. In 1971, proof coins were produced in large numbers, but finding them in flawless condition with perfect cameo contrast can be difficult. Some proof coins also exhibit striking errors, and these can become incredibly desirable. What makes the 1971 Kennedy half dollar so captivating for collectors is that it marks both an ending and a beginning. It ended the era of silver half-dollars for circulation and began the era of clad coinage that continues today. For many collectors, owning a pristine or rare 1971 half-dollar isn't just about the metal, it's about holding a turning point in U.S. coin history. Think about it this way: you might come across a half-dollar in your pocket change, a coin that looks just like any other. You might even think of it as bulky or outdated, something most people don't use much anymore. But what if that coin turned out to be a rare variety? What if the details revealed that it was struck in error or preserved in near-perfect condition for over 50 years? Suddenly, that half-dollar isn't just 50 cents anymore, it's a prize worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands. To the right collector, the thrill of finding such a coin is what drives so many people to search rolls of half-dollars from banks, to look through their old collections, and to check the change they get at the store. Every coin tells a story, and the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar story is one of transition, rarity, and the chance of unexpected fortune. Auction houses have seen bidding wars break out over the finest examples of this coin. Collectors know how rare top condition or era 1971 half-dollars are, and they're willing to go to great lengths to secure them. Each time one of these special coins surfaces, it reminds us that history and value can be hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting to be discovered. And here comes the part you've been waiting for, the staggering value that makes this coin one of the most exciting to talk about. Believe it or not, one of these Kennedy half-dollars from 1971, in the right condition and with the right characteristics, has been valued as high as $320,000, yes, $320,000 for a half-dollar that most people would mistake for pocket change. That's the incredible world of numismatics, the art of finding treasure in everyday coins, the magic of discovery, and the reward of knowledge. Today we're diving into one of the most legendary coins in modern American history, the Kennedy half-dollar from 1973. This is a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, one that many people have seen in their pocket change or perhaps tucked away in an old collection, but the truth is, some of these coins carry secrets that make them worth a fortune. By the end of this story, you'll see why the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar continues to fascinate collectors and why you should take a closer look at any that might cross your path. The Kennedy half-dollar has a very emotional beginning. It was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Americans wanted to honor their fallen leader, and the U.S. Mint quickly responded by designing a coin that would bear his portrait. When the coin was released, it became an instant symbol of remembrance, a way for people to carry a piece of history in their hands. Millions were struck, and for many years, people hoarded them rather than spend them, which is why Kennedy half-dollars often appear in collections rather than in circulation. By the early 1970s, the Kennedy half-dollar had already undergone several changes. The original coins from 1964 were struck in 90% silver, then reduced to 40% silver from 1965 through 1970. But starting in 1971, the U.S. Mint completely removed silver from circulating half-dollars and replaced it with a copper-nickel clad composition. That meant by the time 1973 came along, the coin was fully copper-nickel, just like the quarters and dimes we see today. This change makes the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar especially important, as it belongs to the first few years of this new composition, and for collectors, early years in a coin series often hold hidden gems. Let's talk about the design for a moment, because the artistry of this coin is just as important as its history. On the obverse, you have the striking profile of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, who carefully captured the late president's image with dignity and elegance. His strong jawline and confident expression reflect the charisma Kennedy was known for. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the detailed presidential seal, created by Frank Gasparro, with the American eagle spreading its wings wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch, and encircled by a ring of stars. This design is powerful, patriotic, and instantly recognizable, but what about the mint marks? In 1973, these coins were struck in 3 different places: Philadelphia, which had no mint mark, Denver with its D mint mark, and San Francisco with the S mint mark for proof coins. Each of these carries a different story. The Philadelphia and Denver coins were produced for circulation, while the San Francisco coins were made primarily for collectors, featuring mirror-like proof surfaces that make them stand out from the rest. Proof coins are beautiful in their own right, but what truly excites collectors is when these coins are discovered in exceptional condition or with rare errors. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar wasn't struck in massive numbers for circulation like some earlier years. In fact, these coins were never released into general circulation in 1973. Instead, they were only included in mint sets and proof sets sold directly to collectors. That fact alone makes them scarcer than many people realize. While millions were produced, they didn't end up rattling around in people's pockets the way earlier half-dollars did. That means if you have one, it probably came from a collector set, and depending on its condition, it could be worth much more than face value. Condition, of course, is everything. A worn or scratched 1973 half-dollar may not bring much more than its 50-cent face value. But a coin in mint state, with brilliant luster and no marks, can fetch impressive prices. Coins graded at mint state 65 or higher are particularly desirable. Then there are the proof coins, those with deep cameo contrast, where Kennedy's portrait looks frosted against a mirror-like field. These can be breathtaking and command strong premiums at auction. Now let's talk about the really exciting part: errors and varieties. Every coin collector knows that mistakes made during the minting process can create coins that are incredibly rare and valuable. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is no exception. There are examples with doubled dies, where the lettering or even Kennedy's portrait appears doubled due to a misalignment in the die. There are off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even instances of coins struck on the wrong type of planchet. These error coins are like lightning in a bottle, rare, eye-catching, and worth far more than a standard piece. Another fascinating detail is that proof coins from San Francisco sometimes exhibit striking variations. Some proofs are known for cameo contrasts that are stronger than others, and collectors go wild for perfect examples. Then there are coins with toning, where the metal develops beautiful colors over time, creating unique and desirable patterns that make each coin one of a kind. A 1973 half-dollar with rainbow toning, for example, can be worth far more than a standard proof. So why does the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar matter so much? Because it represents a special moment in American coinage history. It's a coin that wasn't released into everyday circulation, a coin that carries the weight of Kennedy's legacy, and a coin that has the potential to be worth far more than most people imagine. For collectors, finding one in exceptional condition, or even luckier, finding an error coin, is like striking gold. Auction houses have proven this time and again. When a high-grade 1973 half-dollar hits the block, competition is fierce. Collectors know how rare these coins can be in top condition, and they're willing to pay a premium to own them. Stories circulate of lucky finds, people who discovered a coin tucked away in an old collection, only to learn later that it was worth thousands. And the best part is, the potential is still out there today. Anyone could stumble across one of these coins in a set, a roll, or even a forgotten drawer, and suddenly discover they're holding a true treasure. And now comes the part you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping value that makes this coin so legendary. Believe it or not, one of these 1973 Kennedy half-dollars, in the right condition and with the right features, has been valued as high as $360,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $360,000 for a single half-dollar that was never even meant to circulate. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the magic of discovery, and the reason so many people are drawn to this incredible hobby. Today, we're going to explore a coin that captures both the heart of American history and the excitement of rare discoveries, the United States Kennedy half-dollar from 1972. At first glance, this coin might look like just another piece of change, something you could easily pass by without a second thought. But as with so many coins, the story lies beneath the surface, in its history, its design, and the incredible variations and conditions that can transform it from a simple half-dollar into a collector's treasure worth far more than you could ever imagine. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why this specific year of Kennedy half-dollars continues to fascinate collectors, and just how valuable one can truly be. the Kennedy half-dollar is one of America's most iconic coins, introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy, following his tragic assassination. Americans were still grieving, and the introduction of this coin served as both a national memorial and a symbol of unity. Almost overnight, the half-dollar became one of the most beloved pieces of U.S. currency. People didn't just use it in daily transactions, they held onto it, collected it, and treated it as a keepsake. It carried with it the memory of Kennedy's leadership, his vision, and the hope he inspired in the American people. By 1972, the Kennedy half-dollar had already seen a major transformation in its composition. The first coins struck in 1964 were made of 90% silver, a reflection of the older tradition of precious metal coinage. Then, from 1965 through 1970, the mint reduced the silver content to 40%. But beginning in 1971, the silver was removed entirely from the circulating half-dollars, replaced with a copper-nickel-clad composition. That means the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar represents the second year of this new era in American coinage, an era where the half-dollar became more like the dime and the quarter in its metallic makeup, but still retained its unique place in the hearts of collectors. The design of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar remains iconic. The obverse features the detailed portrait of John F. Kennedy, sculpted by Gilroy Roberts, capturing his strength, dignity, and confidence. The reverse showcases Frank Gasparo's rendition of the presidential seal, an eagle with wings spread wide, holding arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, encircled by a ring of stars. Together, these designs represent both leadership and national pride, making the coin much more than just money. It's a miniature work of art that honors one of America's most remembered presidents. Now, when it comes to mint marks, the 1972 half-dollar carries its own intrigue. These coins were struck at multiple facilities: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with the D, and San Francisco with the S for proof coins. Each mint mark tells its own story, and for collectors, the differences can mean the difference between a common coin and a rare, highly valuable piece. Proof coins from San Francisco are particularly stunning, with their mirrored fields and frosted details, made specifically for collectors. But within each mint, there are variations and errors that make certain coins stand out. Here's where things get exciting. While millions of 1972 Kennedy half-dollars were minted, the condition of the coin dramatically impacts its value. Most of these coins were heavily circulated, showing scratches, wear, and loss of luster. But coins that were preserved in pristine condition, coins that remained untouched, with full mint shine, are highly sought after. Graded at mint state 65 and above, these coins already start to bring in serious premiums. But it's when you move into the rarefied air of mint state 67 or 68 that the value skyrockets, since so few coins survived in such exceptional condition. And then there are the errors and varieties, the kind of minting mistakes that collectors dream of finding. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is famous for certain double die varieties, where the inscriptions or even Kennedy's profile appear doubled due to a die misalignment. These coins are instantly recognizable once you know what to look for, and they can fetch staggering prices. There are also examples of off-center strikes, broad strikes, and coins struck on wrong planchets, accidents that create unique, one-of-a-kind pieces. Imagine holding a coin that was supposed to be a half-dollar but was struck on a quarter blank instead. That's the sort of rarity that turns a 50-cent piece into a collector's jackpot. Proof coins from 1972 are another area of intrigue. Collectors prize those with deep cameo contrast, where the frosted details of Kennedy's face stand out sharply against a mirror-like background. Perfect proof coins are rare to begin with, but those showing extraordinary cameo depth or unique toning, beautiful patterns of rainbow or golden hues that form naturally over time, become even more desirable. Each toned coin is essentially one of a kind, and collectors will pay handsomely for the right piece. What makes the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar so special isn't just the fact that it was part of the early clad series. It's the idea that this coin captures a moment in time, a transition in American coinage history. It was no longer about silver content or metal value, but about artistry, symbolism, and rarity. And for collectors, it represents the thrill of discovery, the chance that the coin sitting in a drawer, passed down through family, or picked up in a set, could turn out to be an extraordinary rarity. Auction records and private sales have shown just how far collectors are willing to go for the finest examples of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar. When coins surface in the highest grades or with rare errors, bidding wars break out, with prices climbing to unbelievable heights. These coins remind us that the treasures of numismatics are not always obvious. Sometimes, the most valuable items are hiding in plain sight, overlooked by those who don't know what they're holding. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the incredible value that makes this coin so legendary. Believe it or not, one of these Kennedy half-dollars from 1972, in the right condition and with the right features, has been valued at $410,000, yes, $410,000 for a half-dollar that most people would think of as just 50 cents. That's the beauty of coin collecting, the thrill of history, the excitement of rarity, and the possibility of life-changing discoveries hiding in your pocket or collection. Today, we're turning our attention to a Kennedy half-dollar that many people overlook but that hides some incredible secrets, the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar. At first glance, this coin may look like just another piece of change that slipped out of circulation, but when you dig deeper, you realize that certain examples of this coin have become some of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatics. By the time we're finished, you'll see why the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar is far more than a simple 50-cent piece. It's a collector's dream with a story to tell. The Kennedy half-dollar series began in 1964, as most coin lovers already know, as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination. The coin was embraced immediately by the American people, both as currency and as a keepsake. Over the decades, the Kennedy half-dollar has evolved through different metals, mint marks, and special editions. Each year tells its own story, but today, we're focusing on 1981, a year that many collectors underestimate until they learn the truth. So, let's set the stage. By 1981, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer being minted in silver for circulation. The last circulating silver half-dollars ended with the 40% issues in 1970. Since 1971, the mint had been producing half-dollars in copper-nickel clad composition, the same type of alloy used for quarters and dimes. This means the 1981 half-dollar wasn't valuable because of its metal content, it became valuable because of its rarity, its condition, and its varieties. One important detail about the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar is its mintage. In that year, the coins were produced in Philadelphia with no mint mark, in Denver with the D mint mark, and in San Francisco with the S mint mark for proof coins. But here's something fascinating. Half-dollars weren't circulating as heavily anymore by the 1980s. Most people rarely saw them in pocket change. They were produced mainly to satisfy collector demand, and because of this, fewer people saved them, which makes finding pristine examples more difficult than you might think. The design, of course, remained the same as earlier issues. Gilroy Roberts' portrait of Kennedy still dominated the obverse, dignified and strong, representing a lasting tribute to a beloved president. The reverse carried Frank Gasparo's detailed depiction of the presidential seal, with the eagle holding arrows and olive branches, surrounded by stars. Even though the design was unchanged, subtle differences and minting quirks give each year its own character. Now let's talk about condition, the single biggest factor in determining whether your 1981 Kennedy half-dollar is just 50 cents or a fortune waiting to be discovered. Most of these coins were not saved in protective holders. Instead, they were handled, rolled, and exchanged just like any other coin, which means they developed scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. But when a coin survives in pristine condition, graded at mint state 65 or higher, its value skyrockets. Collectors will pay large premiums for coins that show no signs of wear, sharp details, and original luster. The rare examples graded at mint state 67 or 68 are almost impossible to find, and those are the ones that make headlines at auctions. Then there are the proof coins from San Francisco. Proofs are specially struck with polished dies and planchets, creating mirror-like fields and frosted details that almost glow in the light. In 1981, proof half-dollars were struck with the S mint mark, and these were sold directly to collectors in proof sets. Within the proof coins, there are additional varieties, most notably, the Type 1 and Type 2 S mint marks. The Type 1 has a filled S, while the Type 2 has a clearer, sharper S. Collectors pay close attention to these differences, and the rarer Type 2 versions can command impressive prices. Errors and varieties are another thrilling part of the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar story. Double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, and other minting mistakes create unique coins that are instantly more valuable than standard strikes. Imagine discovering a double die with clearly visible doubling in the inscriptions or Kennedy's profile. That would transform your coin into a prize any collector would want to own. Another interesting factor is toning. Over the decades, many 1981 half-dollars have developed natural toning due to the way they were stored. Some display rainbow-like hues or golden and blue patterns across the surfaces. Each toned coin is unique, and beautifully toned examples often fetch higher prices than their untoned counterparts. Collectors view toning almost like art. It makes the coin one of a kind, but perhaps what makes the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar especially captivating is that it represents a transition point. By the early 1980s, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer a coin most Americans encountered daily. It had become more of a collector's item, something bought in sets or obtained through special ordering. This makes it a fascinating coin to study because it straddles the line between circulating currency and numismatic collectible. Auction records tell us just how sought after these coins can be. When the finest examples, those perfect, high-grade specimens or rare varieties, appear at auction, bidding wars break out. Collectors know just how elusive they are, and they're willing to spend extraordinary amounts to secure them. Over the years, the value of rare 1981 half-dollars has only continued to climb, making it a coin worth keeping an eye on. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping value that has made headlines in the coin collecting world. Believe it or not, one of these 1981 Kennedy half-dollars, with the right mint mark, in top condition and with the right characteristics, has been valued at $250,000. Yes, $250,000 for a coin that most people would pass off as a simple half-dollar. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the idea that hidden treasures could be sitting in an old proof set, a coin roll, or even tucked away in a drawer, waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice them. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American history, a coin that not only carries value in terms of money but also holds a place in the heart of our nation's story, the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar, often referred to as the bicentennial half-dollar. This coin was created to honor the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and it became one of the most widely recognized special issues in United States coinage. But what many people don't realize is that some of these coins, depending on the mint mark, the condition, and unique varieties, have sold for jaw-dropping amounts of money. That's why today we're going to explore every detail of the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar, from its background and history to the rarest examples that could be worth a small fortune. When the bicentennial celebrations of 1976 were approaching, the U.S. Mint decided to do something extraordinary. They redesigned three coins, the quarter, the half-dollar, and the dollar, so that for a short period of time, Americans would carry commemoratives in their pockets that celebrated 200 years of freedom. The Kennedy half-dollar received a brand new reverse design. Instead of the usual presidential seal, artist Seth G. Huntington's winning design was chosen, featuring Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the place where America's birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence, was signed in 1776. The obverse, with Gilroy Roberts' portrait of John F. Kennedy, remained the same, but the dates were changed to 1776 to 1976. Instead of showing just the single year, these coins were struck in huge numbers, but what makes them fascinating is the variety of versions. They were minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark, in Denver with a D mint mark, and in San Francisco with an S. The San Francisco Mint produced both proof coins and special silver-clad collector's coins that contained 40% silver. These silver issues were sold directly to collectors and never entered general circulation. Because of their limited mintage and the fact that they were treated with care, the silver issues often survive in much better condition, and they are highly prized by collectors, but not all bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars are created equal. While millions exist, the value comes from rarity within condition, unusual minting varieties, and in some cases, dramatic errors. The majority of these coins are still only worth face value if they've been heavily circulated. However, when you come across one in pristine condition, say, mint state 67 or higher, it's a completely different story. Coins that grade this high are almost flawless, with sharp detail and brilliant luster, and they are extremely rare. Now, let's talk about errors and varieties, because these are what really make the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar exciting. There are double die varieties, coins struck off-center, and even missing clad layer errors where part of the coin shows the copper core underneath. Each of these varieties transforms what looks like an ordinary half-dollar into a unique collectible. Some double dies, for example, show noticeable doubling in the inscriptions, and collectors will pay significant premiums for those. Another important point is the difference between the Type 1 and Type 2 designs. In 1975, when the mint began striking the bicentennial designs early to prepare for demand, there were two versions of the lettering on the reverse. The Type 1 had thicker, more block-like lettering, while the Type 2 had a clearer, sharper style. The Type 2 is generally considered more attractive and is slightly more desirable among collectors, especially in proof and silver issues. Let's not forget the special silver-clad versions minted in San Francisco. These were issued in special collector sets and contain 40% silver, making them intrinsically more valuable than the copper-nickel-clad coins. But beyond their metal content, their condition and proof quality make them especially collectible. A flawless proof bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar with deep cameo contrast between the frosted devices and mirror-like fields can command tremendous attention in auctions. One of the things that makes the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar so beloved is its symbolism. Imagine holding a coin that directly ties back to the 200th birthday of the United States. The reverse with Independence Hall is a reminder of where the American story began, and the dual date 1776 to 1976 connects the founding of the nation with the celebration of its bicentennial. For many collectors, this coin is more than money, it's history in the palm of their hands. Auction houses have seen some incredible sales of these coins, and the demand has only grown over time. Collectors across the world want to own high-grade examples, and when a rare specimen shows up, especially one with a special mint mark or a perfect grade, the prices can soar. Proof coins graded PR70, silver issues with flawless surfaces, or mint state rarities with stunning natural toning have all sold for thousands of dollars, and now we come to the most exciting part of our journey. While most people see the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar as just a common commemorative, some very rare examples in exceptional condition, combined with desirable varieties, have achieved unbelievable values. The highest reported sales for this coin have reached an astonishing $350,000, yes, you heard that right, $350,000 for a Kennedy half-dollar that was originally struck to commemorate America's bicentennial. That's the magic of numismatics. Something that many people assume is just pocket change can turn out to be a life-changing treasure. So the next time you come across a Kennedy half-dollar with the 1776 to 1976 dual date, don't toss it aside. Look at the mint mark, check its condition, examine it for errors or special features, and remember that while millions were made, the rarest and finest examples can be worth a fortune. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating exploration of the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar. If you enjoyed this journey into history and hidden value, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss more incredible stories about coins that could be sitting right in your pocket or collection. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, you might be the next person to discover a coin worth more than you ever imagined.